To discuss, we welcome Tom Borelli, a Newsmax insider and contributor at America's Voice News, also Nan Hayworth with the Independent Women's Forum and a former New York Congresswoman. Welcome to you both. Excited to hear what you have to say about this. But let me first show you what Senator Ted Cruz tweeted after Nancy Pelosi's comment here, saying this: unbelievable, the violent mob is destroying the livelihoods of hardworking Americans, killing innocent children and law enforcement officers, tearing down statues of people who fought for liberty. We need leaders who stand up unapologetically, defend America, not the mob. So, Tom, I'll ask you this. Is Nancy Pelosi indeed defending the mob here by dismissing and even minimizing their actions?
Yes, Emma, absolutely. Speaker Pelosi is essentially endorsing mob rule. I don't think there's any other way, really, you can interpret that. And keep in mind, she is the top Democrat in the country. She's third in line to be president, God forbid, and she is essentially endorsing mob rule. This is what the Democrats are about these days. And you have to keep in mind, there's a political agenda here behind the scenes. They actually like this chaos. They like this social unrest because they think they can blame President Trump for it. And then they can vault in former Vice President Joe Biden as the savior. Democrats are being the arsonists. They want Biden to be the fireman, but it's not going to work. The American people are concerned about law, order, and safety. That's why they're going to back President Trump.
And you mentioned this strategy here that Pelosi might be using, as well as potentially Chuck Schumer. Nan, do you think they're trying to get voters and appeal to voters through these comments, through these statements, just for a win in November?
Oh, Emma, absolutely. Everything they do is politically motivated. And indeed, of course, that's the nature of these kinds of positions. But let's just go back for a moment, Emma. Remember at when the COVID crisis was really revving up in this country, and Nancy Pelosi was on an interview with James Corden, giggling as she displayed the full freezer of ice cream, very expensive ice cream treats that she had, and she was completely making light of what for Americans in lockdown was a desperately sad situation, and she doesn't care. She doesn't live those consequences, Emma, and that's the problem with these Democrats who live behind, their gated communities. Joe Biden's in his basement. They are not experiencing the chaos in the streets. They are not being terrorized by mobs who drag people out of their cars. In Columbus, Ohio, a man with cerebral palsy had to be dragged out of his car for safety because an Antifa BLM mob was attacking his car. He had nothing to do with any of it. An innocent bystander. So this is the kind of callousness that I think, Emma, the American public is perceiving, and they are very concerned about it. The Democratic leadership is playing to the insurrectionists. I don't think that's going to work on Main Street.
Well, you do have to wonder, where do they stand when you see this violence in communities, record violence? You see businesses being destroyed. They won't speak out about it. Speaking of Democrats, a prominent one in New York City, the mayor. We saw yesterday that BLM protesters, they painted Fifth Avenue right in front of course, Trump Tower of all places. Mayor Bill de Blasio spoke later on CNN about banning large gatherings in New York until September. Listen to this.
Things like parades, things that here in the city can mean not just thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. It's just not time for that now.
What about protests? If people want to march down Fifth Avenue, are they going to be allowed to do so?
Recognizing the power and the meaning of the message Black Lives Matter, which we did in front of Trump Tower today. This is a historic moment of change. We have to respect that.
So no parades or large gatherings in New York, but the protests, they are fine. Tom, how does the mayor say this without even being questioned about it?
Well, when you really look at it, Mayor de Blasio, he's just a plain hypocrite, and the world can see that on that interview. On one hand, if you want to be part of a festival or a parade, you can't do it for public health reasons. But if Black Lives Matter wants to march down Fifth Avenue, he's going to be in the front row. He's going to be leading the charge because de Blasio is really a Marxist. He doesn't like our system of government. He doesn't like private property. He doesn't like rule of law. He actually likes chaos. That's why they're defunding the police. Democrats like de Blasio think if the country falls apart, a city falls apart, people are going to panic and call for more government. That's his agenda, and that's what Black Lives Matter agenda is. It's not about Black lives. It's about a cultural Marxist revolution.
And putting who's the founders behind the movement aside, from just a citizen living in New York, I'm confused because is my health at risk here when I'm going outside and meeting up with friends? Or is my health at risk when I'm protesting? I don't understand. And Nan, we continue to see these mixed messages from the mayor.
Absolutely. Well, you're right. And it is a typical Democrat approach, Emma. The mayor is probably the most vivid example of it, and the most frustrating. The Democratic Party is all about rules, regulations, laws, imposing on those of us who actually care about following the rules, actually care about working hard. We're the ones who are going to be paying the taxes, paying the cost of complying with all of their different rules and regulations. But you know what? For them and their favored constituencies, those rules don't apply. So as long as you're, promoting the kind of Marxist agenda that Mayor de Blasio all too clearly believes in, that's fine. You don't have to worry about the rules don't apply to you. But let me tell you, Emma, law-abiding New York citizens who just want to go out and have an enjoyable dinner with their friends or have a gathering, or Orthodox Jews who want to have a funeral, let's say, nope, that's not going to be possible because de Blasio is dictating the terms, and that's just the way he likes it.
Yeah, you think about all those people who lost loved ones during this time, unable to come together and have a funeral for them. My heart just breaks for them. Tom Borelli, Nan Hayworth, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Emma.
You got it. All right. Up